everybody, it's Olivia and I am back with another crochet tutorial. Today we are making the chevron sweater and I love the little zigzag pattern it makes at the bottom. We have our video tutorial for all our visual learners. We have voiceover for our audio learners, and we have written instructions on the blog linked in the description for all of our readers. So let's go ahead and get started. This sweater is made in 4 trapezoid-like panels. So these smaller panels are going to be our sleeves, and then we have these 2 larger panels that are going to be our front and back of the sweater. And the front and back panels are both identical and both of the sleeves are identical. So we will be making 2 of each. So I'm using a 4.0 millimeter hook to make the 6 to 12 month size. And if you want to make the smaller 0 to 6 month size, you just downsize your hook to 3.5. And then I'm just making 33 chains to start off our front panel. Then make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, and there's 4. So I just yarn over, insert my hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And these 3 chains at the beginning are going to count as a double crochet. So I'm now done with row 1, and I should have 31 double crochets including my 3 chains from the beginning. Now I'm going to chain 3 and turn the project over. And in order to keep the same number of stitches in row 2, I'm going to skip the first stitch because our chain 3 is already counting as a double crochet. So I'm skipping the first stitch to make up for that. So I'm just going into the 2nd stitch and then just making double crochets all the way down the row. And when I get to the end of the row, I'm going to make a double crochet into the top of my chain 3 from the previous row. So I'm almost done. And here's my 3 chains from previous row. And I'm just making my double crochet into that top chain. So I'm just treating that chain 3 like a normal double crochet. So chain 3 and turn. And for this next row, I'm going to start increasing the number of stitches per row. And we're going to be increasing by 2. So I'm not going to skip over my first stitch. And I'm going to go into that very first stitch and make a double crochet. And that will be my increase of 1. And then I'm going to continue double crocheting all the way down the row. And when I get to my 3 chains from the previous row, I'm going to make 2 double crochets in the top of my chain 3. And then here I am making my 2 double crochets into the top of that chain 3. So I just increased the number of stitches by 2. So now for rows 4 through 7, I'm just going to repeat row 3, doing the exact same increase. So that means I'm not skipping over my first stitch, and I'm going to make a double crochet. And then I just continue double crocheting all the way down to the end of the row. And then when I reach my chain 3 from the previous row, I'm going to make 2 double crochets into the top of that. So each row should have 2 more stitches than the previous one. And our design is going to start extending outward. So here's what it's looking like after row 7, and I should have 41 stitches in row 7. So for rows 8 and 9, I'm not going to increase. So I'm going to keep my 41 stitches by chaining 3 and turning, and then skipping over that first stitch because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So I just skipped the first stitch and worked into the second, and then double crocheted all the way until the end of the row. And then in my chain 3, since we are no longer increasing, I just made one double crochet into that chain 3. And I did this for rows 8 and 9. And then for row 10, I'm changing my color to this light purple, and you can use any method you want to change the color of your yarn. I just simply yarn over with my new color and pull up a loop, and then I just cut my gray yarn. So I'm going to start off my chevron pattern by chaining 3 and turning the project over. And then I'm going to make a double crochet into that very first stitch. So I'm not skipping any stitches here. Then make a double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And so far you should have 5 stitches. Your chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then 4 double crochets. So 5 total. Now we're going to double crochet 3 together, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So you just yarn over and make a normal double crochet, but you're not going to finish it. You're just going to leave these 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again, insert your hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now you have 4 loops on your hook. And then to finish the stitch, you just yarn over and pull through all 4 of those loops. And what you just did was crochet 3 stitches into 1. Next, I'm making a double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And now I'm making 3 double crochet into the same stitch. And this is where the pattern repeats. And I like to describe the repeat as 3 individuals, 3 together, 3 individuals, and 3 in 1. So let's do our pattern repeat. So 3 individual double crochets, and then I'm double crocheting 3 together. Then 3 individual double crochets. And then 3 double crochets into that 1 stitch. So you're just going to repeat that sequence of 3s, and then I will show you what to do when you get to the end of the row. So the last 3 stitches before your chain 3 should end on 3 individual double crochets. And if not, then that means you made an error somewhere in the pattern. So you want to make sure you're keeping track of your stitches. And then I'm finishing off the row by making 2 double crochets into the top of my chain 3. And then I'm just going to repeat row 10 until I get to row 17, and each row should have 41 stitches. So I just chain 3 and turn the project to begin row 11, and then I just do the same thing that I did in row 10. I start by making a double crochet into my very first stitch. And then as I speed up the video, I'm going to do my pattern repeat of 3 individuals, 3 together, 3 individuals, and 3 in 1. And when you finish row 17, just fasten off and weave in your ends, and then just make a second identical panel. And now it's time to move on to our sleeves. So I'm starting off with 23 chains because our sleeves are going to be made with the exact same pattern that we use for our front and back panels. The only difference is the sleeves are going to have 10 stitches less. So this next row, instead of having 31 stitches, it will have 21 stitches, and so on. Now I'm just making a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook and in each chain down. Then be sure to skip the first stitch because we are not increasing on row 2. And don't forget to make a double crochet into the 3 chains from the previous row. And then on row 3, we start increasing, so I'm not going to skip my first stitch. I'm going to work a double crochet into that very first stitch next to my chain 3. And then finish row 3 with 2 double crochet into the chain 3 from the previous row. And then just like we did with our front and back panels, we increase for rows 4 through 7, so our design starts extending outward. And we stop increasing when we get to row 8, so that means skip over that first stitch. And we only make 1 double crochet into our chain 3 at the end of the row. Then for row 10, we start our chevron pattern, and then we repeat it for rows 11 through 17. So So I will be using row 17 to review with you how to do the chevron pattern. So chain 3 and turn, and then make a double crochet into that very first stitch. Then double crochet into the next 3 stitches. Double crochet 3 together. Double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then make 3 double crochets into that 1 stitch. So the pattern goes 3 individuals, 3 together, 3 individuals, 3 in 1. Then I should end on 3 individual double crochets. And I'm just going to finish off the row by making 2 double crochets into my chain 3. And then just fasten off and weave in your ends. Now it's time to connect the sweater. So you should have 2 sleeve panels and 2 front and back panels. So first we're going to work with our front and back panels. So first you want to put the 2 nicer sides of the panel together because we are going to be turning the sweater inside out. And we are going to connect the panels on the sides. So here's a checklist of things you want to consider when connecting your sweater. You can pause the video and read these, but don't worry, I will remind you as we go. So I worked 19 single crochets down the sides to connect this seam. And I kept that same number on both sides. So to attach my yarn, I just made a slip knot and then I just put my hook into the side and then I put the slip knot on my hook and pulled up a loop. And then I just chained 1 to secure it. And this is how I attached my yarn for every seam. So now all I'm doing is making sure I work through both panels and making single crochets all the way down this seam to close it up. And I want to make sure that I make enough stitches so that my seam is nice and tight and doesn't have any gaps or holes. And at the end of my seam, I ended up with 19 single crochets. And then I just went and repeated that on the other side. Now I'm going to attach my sleeve to the front and back of the sweater. So I'm attaching this entire gray area. And where the gray and purple meet, that is where the armpit is. So you want to make sure you're getting all the way down that gray and purple area and not missing any stitches, or else you'll end up with an armpit hole that has to be sewed up. It's not the end of the world, it just means you'll have to take that 1 extra step and sew up the armpit. For my gray seam, when I connected the sleeve, I ended up with 27 single crochets, and I want to keep that same number of stitches every time I connect the gray part. So now I'm connecting the other side of the sleeve to the back of the sweater, and I'm just pinning it so you can see how it's going to make a sleeve like this. And then I'm just going to work my 27 single crochets right where the pins are. So finally, we have to close up our sleeve. So for this particular seam, I ended up with 19 single crochets. So here's what the sleeve looks like when it's fully connected. And now I'm just going to repeat the exact same process on the other side to connect my other sleeve. And I'm going to keep the same number of stitches that I had on the previous side. So 27 stitches for the gray areas, and then 19 stitches to close up my sleeve. And then both of my sleeves are connected. Now I'm just going to turn the sweater inside out so that all of my seams are disguised on the inside. And now we can move on to our neckline. So to make our neckline, we're going to be working in our foundation chain that we did when we first started the. So you can attach your yarn on either side since they are both identical. And then you're going to work 96 single crochets around your neckline. And here I am just working my single crochets opposite of these double crochets and into my foundation chain. So you kind of have to eyeball it when you get to the corners of the sleeves because you have a seam there. But as long as you have 96 single crochets when you are finished, then you are good to go. And then I'm finishing this round with a slip stitch into my first single crochet. Then to start off round 2, I'm chaining 1 and making 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. Now I'm going to single crochet 2 together, and to do that I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop, so I have 3 loops on the hook, then yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now since I already did it once, I now have to repeat this entire sequence 15 more times. So single crochet into the next 4 stitches, single crochet 2 together. Now when I get to the end of the round and make my slip stitch, I should have a total of 80 stitches. So I decreased 16 times. So for round 3, I'm just chaining 1 and making a single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then single crocheting 2 together. And I'm going to repeat that sequence 19 more times. So 20 times total. And when I get to the end of this round, I should have a total of 60 stitches. Now, when I slip stitch into my first single crochet of the round, I'm going to yarn over with a different color and just continue slip stitching with my new color all the way around the neckline. And these slip stitches will create a really nice border for finishing off the neckline. And when you get to the end of the round, we are going to make an invisible join to join the round. And I will show you how to do that. So I'm at the end of my round and I just cut my yarn, but not too short. And then I'm just going to pull the loop all the way up. So I have a tail end. And then I'm just threading my tapestry needle. Now I'm taking my needle and guiding my yarn behind these two loops of my first slip stitch. So I'm just pulling my yarn behind those two loops. And then I'm going to go through this slip stitch, but I'm going to go into the back loop only. So I'm going right in between the stitch to get through only that back loop. Then just tug on it to tighten it a little bit, and then all you have to do is weave in your ends, and then you are done with your chevron sweater. And here's what the final product is looking like, and I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. Please leave any questions for me in the comments or feel free to email me, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again with another crochet tutorial. Bye!